Hi, my name is Blue Chan, but of course you can call me Blue. And today we're going to be doing another reaction video. I wasn't really sure what I was going to react to this weekend, if I'm to be honest. I was tempted to just do a standard clip compilation because I do still have a buttload of clips. But it was like it came down from the heavens, and when I clicked on YouTube, front and center, we had a video from the Swarm Scribes. It seems like an interesting one, so I was like, it's not too long. Could be very interesting. And I've asked about this before, so let's go with it. So today we're going to be reacting to How Neuro Plays Games by the Swarm Scribes. If you don't know who they are, they're a great spot actually to keep up to date on going on within the community. So, as always, the video will be linked in the pinned comment, and you can click on that and go give them a follow if you want. Truly appreciate it. I'm sure they would appreciate it, is probably what I should say. I'm not a part of them. I'm curious to see what they bring up here, though, because, like, as far as I know, Vedal doesn't really go out of his way to mention how stuff like this works, aside from what we've seen on dev streams. I'd be curious to see just what they were able to dig up. So, I guess let's just jump into it. I forget to move. I'm kind of excited, is what I was trying to say before my words just stopped wording. Yay! I did set up that sound. Oh, I'm so afraid sometimes I forget. Now Neuro plays games.
As a streamer is to play games on stream. I mean, okay, you don't have to play games to count as a streamer, but...
He would love to think he's not a streamer. Nah, man, he's the streamer, whether he likes it or not. I've never seen Neuro play this game, by the way. I'd like to see this get, like, called back, or get called as a comeback, or come as a callback. I'd like to see her play it.
That is one of Neuro's capabilities. You've likely seen her play games during solo chill streams. I mean, here she is playing Inscription, and here she is playing Plague Inc. These are games that she's been integrated into, as it's called, since she can control what she does in those games directly. But what you may not know is that some of the integrations you may have seen her use aren't made by Vedal. They also aren't made by Alex, who is his programmer friend that helped with many of the early integrations such as Liar's Bar, Buckshot Roulette, and Inscription.
You know, I was just thinking about this like the other day. I can't think of the last time I've seen or heard anything mentioned about Alex. Does he still work with them? Surely he does, maybe? Does anyone know? Like, genuinely, it was probably just over this past weekend, or last weekend, I guess it would be, because this weekend is this past weekend by the time you see this. I haven't heard hide nor hair of him. Oh gosh. It's been a long while. He used to pop up like semi-regularly during certain things, like Vedal would pull him in and they would talk about stuff during... I suppose Vedal doesn't really have dev streams all that much anymore. That could be half of it. But yeah, no, like, it feels like he's kind of just disappeared, and I wonder if he's still with them or not.
At the time of writing, around half of the integration seen on stream, Cookie Clicker, Outer Wilds, Plague Inc., VS Code, and Don't Starve, have been made by Swarm members and posted to the public projects channel on Neurocord.
That's crazy. Like, that's dedication right there. I wonder, anyone who, if there's anyone who's created one of these mods, do you get paid like a bounty for setting up a mod for a game like this? I know with, what was it he wanted recently? Pragmata. He wanted to have a mod created for that, and he said he would pay for it. Does he normally pay for them? If he does, Dude goes above and beyond, because technically he wouldn't have to. But I am curious. Like, he's providing the API, I think it is, and they're building it or integrating it into the game, right? I think that's how it works. So it's cool if he does pay. It's really cool if he pays, actually. on a regular basis. Does anyone know? If any of you have created one of these mods or worked on one of these mods, have you get compensated? If not, tell him you want money. Tell him you want kickbacks. He's got the money these days.
But you may be wondering how. After
Hi,
all,
Lena.
we don't...
No, that's not me. That's Lena. That's Lena, you silly goobers. Sorry.
Public projects channel on Neurocode. But you may be wondering how. After all, we don't get to see Neuro's source code. How is it that the community can make integrations despite not knowing how she works internally, or having a copy of Neuro? Today, I'll be giving you the rundown of the Neuro API, how this all works, give some examples, and also talk about the effort put behind keeping things smoothly running.
This should be interesting. I won't remember most of this, but this should be interesting. This is the type of thing I'm always asking you guys about. So I'm genuinely excited for this.
And if you don't know who I am, I'm K-Train.
Hi,
I write
K-Train!
code for many different projects, including these projects that use the API.
Oh god. Wait, Scam-sama? What? TypeScript Neuro Game API, TypeScript Neuro Game SDK. I'll move over here so you can see the other ones too. Neuro Trainer, BSC Neuropilot. Is that one for the Outer Wilds by chance? Or maybe even Cyberpunk? Neuro Canvas. Oh, that's gotta be the drawing, right? Maybe? And another one for Neuropilot. 40 issues. Are they all Neuro flying into the sun? Because I feel like they're all Neuro flying into the sun. Oh gosh, she trolled so hard in the Outer Wilds.
Whenever I can, I also help with other people making their own integrations, giving them some tips on how they can use certain techniques. Either way, I think I'm qualified enough to give you a rundown on it.
I was genuinely curious how they were getting insider information. It's from the source of an insider. I mean, I guess that makes sense. So, at least that will let us know that this isn't just someone blowing smoke up their own rear, or blowing smoke out their rear and making stuff up and assuming that we'll know. Like, if they're actively working on this stuff, they're probably gonna know a bit more than you or I. Unless you are the I.
Okay, introduction done. Let's go.
Excuse me.
The protocol starts with the time when Neuro played Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. For this integration, Vedal and Alex created a protocol specific to the integration that makes sense to the game, with different commands taking names after the various things she can do in the game, such as lifeline/phone a friend. The integration worked out pretty great, but once this protocol was then applied to other games, it was pretty easy to see that the millionaire-specific commands wouldn't be applicable to other games. Well, who would have thought? And it would be pretty tiresome for Vedal to have to create a new set of commands per game and translate that into something Neuro can interpret and understand.
You know what's funny? I mean, what I'm about to say is nowhere near as complicated as this. But I sort of understand, to a certain degree, where this is coming from. I wonder if I can... I actually mentioned this in my last reaction video with a program I use called Talon. It allows me to add voice commands to games, and you have to write out small scripts for that. There are other programs out there that do this easier, but they're typically paid programs, and I like free. Free is fun, even if it is a little more work. But I have to do a per game script, right? And it does get tedious, especially like the latest one I did just last weekend. What for Red Dead Redemption 2? I spent 6 hours fine-tuning it, and I still need to add more to it. Fine-tuning a bunch of different voice commands. Like for my horse, if I wanted to run, I say giddy up, or hiya, or hiya. And I have to find variants of those words in case the speech recognition mishears me. So there's a lot of testing and adding extra words into that. I have a list of like 300-400 words at this point for specific commands. If I want, like, one of the big things I've been doing, I don't know how it happened, but I become obsessed with hats in that game. So I made commands for hats. If I see someone's hat laying on the ground and I don't have one, I can say like, nice hat you got there, or what does that have got there? What have you got there? Like things like that. But those commands don't work with other games. Well, technically, they could, but it wouldn't make sense for them to work. So, sort of like here, right? If they had commands for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you use those commands like select A or phone a friend, and you use the phone a friend command to choose a Pokemon action, it doesn't make a lot of sense and it's just confusing. Like with the Talon script specifically, I have them set up so they run and only work, or supposed to be anyway. I don't know. I haven't really tested to see if commands work with other games yet or not with similar button inputs. But if it's set up right, mine only work with the specific game that it is for, because it only registers if a specific exe is open. But that's a limitation I have to work with. If I could integrate something like this where I have a source command that would work across multiple games, like say there was 2 games I played that had sprinting, where you would have to press and hold a button to sprint. If it was a universal button, I could just have that universal command for that script across a master Talon, right? And it would always work with that command. So say sprint was holding in shift. At least this is how I'm interpreting what they're saying so far. If with Talon, sprint was holding in shift, I could have a master Talon list where any game that has shift needing to be held in, I could just say run or sprint, and it would automatically press and hold that for me, and it would work across all games. Whereas the game-specific commands, like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, wanting to pick up a hat, I say pick up a hat. It would be weird if I said that for, like, Assassin's Creed, and that did an assassination instead, right? Ooh, I should add assassinations in Assassin's Creed Shadows. That'd be fun, actually. But yeah, and I never even thought to do this until just now. I could actually make a master command list and save myself a lot of time. Commands that work across several games, I could just put them in their own script and not limit that script to just one specific game. Holy Moses, I'm a developer. I'm not. But I think what they're saying, from what little bit, if I let them go, they would probably explain this enough to confirm what I'm saying. But from my understanding, it's similar to what I just explained, I think. I'm sorry. If this is nowhere near accurate, I'm sorry. It's also like similar to like other mods that use a separate mod as a dependency. I think that'd be the easier way to interpret it.
This led Vedal and Alex to co-create a generic specification for Neuro to be able to interact with any integration, without the need for custom commands for each integration. In the end, docs of the specs were stored in an at the time private repo called Neuro Game SDK.
I feel like he said in like 5 words what it took me 5 minutes to say.
All integrations going forward would also, presumably, be written to utilize the spec. The Neuro API was officially publicized right before the second Neuro-sama game jam. It continues to be available on GitHub today with relatively little changes. The community has built many integrations even since the game jam, with many people building amazing integrations such as Stardew Valley, Played Up, Pokemon Showdown, The Farmer was replaced, Fallout New Vegas, and more being posted every month in the Neurocord project form.
Oh, they're New Vegas, huh? What would the choices, or would it be with a game like that? Neuro would control, like, maybe when you go into VATS, or maybe the choices in the game when talking to people? I feel like the better she's integrated, the better the game is. Like, Cyberpunk's really fun because you can control the hacking, the driving. in the choices in the game. She's doing a lot of core functions in that game. With Pokemon, she controlled the battles. And like I think that's so cool. Like Vedal was the pilot to get her from place to place. She was the one playing the main aspect of the game. I wonder how many people vibe code with AI with this. Could I vibe code with AI with this? I wouldn't know how to start it, man. I'm not even going to get into that. No way.
So, with the history done with, let's understand how it works. Neuro does not see games the same way humans do. While she has vision, this is not part of the Neuro API, and vision can be toggled independently from the API. This means that Neuro does not see the UI of a game like we as humans normally do, like health bars, buttons, or scenery. Instead, text packets are sent back and forth between Neuro and the integration, meaning that she can be sent more or less information than what we see. It also means she may be receiving incorrect or incomplete information.
Chat's view, Neuro's view. Let's see. Oops. Pokemon Neuro Platinum. What's the... Oh, I see what the difference is here. I was gonna say, what's the difference? She might not be able to see, like, that fourth command that we can see, because the information packet that was sent to her doesn't match. That's interesting. So is she, like, I always assumed, like, if you could see her console, you would just see a list of text explaining stuff like this, and I think that's pretty much what they just said. Interesting. It's kind of a shame, though. It breaks the illusion a little bit knowing this. Like, from our perspective, Neuro is just out there. What we can see, as far as we know, she can see, right? And that makes it more immersive. I think knowing the back end of this a little bit might hurt it. We'll see. But I would love to see a day where she gets advanced enough that she uses the vision, like she can see the screen the same way that we do, like the camera being on or looking at a screen. And she can see what's on that screen, determine what that is, and make choices based off of that. I mean, I suppose technically in a sense, that might be how it's going in the broadest of terms. Like, even with us, we perceive it as vision, but we don't know what all is going on in the background. Like, I'm looking at this step right now. I'm seeing that there's like a lighter in front of me for starting fires, even though I'm not looking directly at it. I have peripheral vision, lets me see a bunch of different stuff. But in my noodle, my brain is probably going bam, 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 with like a bajillion different synapses like firing off, breaking down all this information and letting me spew it out in the way I am right now. Like, we could be having that massive text file in the background giving us all this information that our eyes are perceiving, and we just don't understand that that's how we work yet, right? Because we're fleshy. We expect it to be just how humans work. I know I just mentioned this last reaction. Stuff like this, it always makes me think that it's super duper advanced fleshy computers that can self-replicate, or that can replicate by giving birth to offshoots versions of us mixed with someone else. And legitimately, I think that's what we are.
But with that said, there is a list of packets that are sent to or from Neuro when we use the Neuro API.
Like, why don't we start off like this?
This is represented using JSON, which is a computer-friendly data format commonly used for information transfer over the internet.
I know a JSON. I know a few JSONs, actually. Confirmed. JSON is data.
After startup initialization is complete, actions can be registered/unregistered to Neuro. And Neuro can choose to execute actions at any time once registered, after which a result will be sent back. This result needs to be sent back as soon as possible, as in, the only delay should be late. The game can also force an action from Neuro.
Did they censor latency? Could they censor latency? Really? Speaking of, I'm gonna throw a, like, I won't be reacting to it, but I watched Lena's stream with Evil. Man, I think Evil's latency needs to be increased. I really do. She was answering before Lena could even finish her thoughts. Kind of reminds me of Gemini at this point. Or AI in general at this point of using like speech to text. Take a breath, it butts in. So annoying. It's so annoying.
Neuro, which will then require Neuro to send an action as soon as possible. The game can also send information to Neuro at any time with a context packet. All of this happens over WebSocket, which is a protocol that allows bi-directional communication between a client and a server. And that is the somewhat high-level overview of the API protocol. Anyways, the Neuro API is very well suited for turn-based card games or visual novels, since those can easily be translated into text to send to Neuro, and do not require complex real-time elements. There have been attempts to allow more real-time games for Neuro.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear.
But this is very much stretching the API protocol, so they are a challenge to integrate well, with most integrations for real-time games requiring some abstraction. Why don't I give an example of each type of integration that we have?
Please do.
Before we do though, let's define these categories. They aren't officially defined or even agreed upon categories, but these best fit the different types of integrations we have so far, so we'll stick with this. Autonomous integrations, which will be defined as games that Neuro controls by herself. Integrations for these games are usually turn-based games or visual novels, since, as mentioned above, they are perfect for Neuro to play on. Co-op game integrations, which will be defined as games that Neuro and Vedal can play together.
Which are some of the best. I love that they mention Neuro and Vedal. Proceeds to show evil. Proceeds to show evil. I hope they go back to this.
Integrations in here are usually integrations that are way too complex for Neuro to play alone, and usually, but not always, have some other element that Neuro can control instead while Vedal plays.
I touched on this before, sorry for interrupting so much. I touched on this before, actually just during, I think this past week's live streams. If you're seeing this on the day that it goes out or the week that it goes out. I mentioned how I want to see someday where they try to implement retro gaming. There's so many retro games that have like turn-based battles in them, like RPGs and stuff. I'd love to see Neuro be able to totally autonomously, or mostly autonomously, I guess it would be one of the co-op experiences, because Vedal would need to walk around for her probably. But I would love to see them attempt to integrate like emulators, old school emulators from the NES and Super NES era, and integrate like classic Final Fantasy, for example. I would love to see Neuro play like Final Fantasy VI. That game's hard if you play the Japanese version, from what I remember. I've gone through the Japanese version, I think, once. Even though that doesn't have standard turn-based, it has ATB, which is active turn-based, where it has bars filling up. If they could implement something like that so she controlled the battles, I'd be curious to see how she could do. And they could implement it in a way that she had to pay attention to the story to get context clues on how to solve puzzles and stuff as well, and be able to move throughout the world on her own. I would love to see them be able to implement something that's stupidly complicated. On top of that, even though they would truly need practically negative latency, I want to see her play Super Mario Bros. See if she could beat 1-1. Simple level for us, but it requires real-time interactions and reactions to like jump on stuff, right? I would love to see, even if it was a failed attempt, I would love to see them give her control of a platforming character and let her try to get through the stages. I think that would be so amazing. Like I said, even if it was a failure, I've seen, and I'm going to call you out here, Quirt. And I've seen Quirt at QWRT actually working on something like this with Super Mario 64 with their AI. And while it's early stages, I believe their AI was trying really hard to make Mario move. And was getting frustrated over it from what I remember from the screenshots. QWRT, if you're watching this, are you still working on that? I haven't seen any like updates or anything in the Discord for a while. Even if I don't respond to them, I do read all the things that you do with your AI because I find it interesting, if nothing else. But yeah, like there is a world that it could be possible. People do seem to be working on it, at least as personal passion projects. I want to see it come, like especially where Neuro has such a big following. Why is it doing this? Where Neuro has such a big following, I would love to see like a group of talented modders. Hint, hint. If any of the Swarm Scribes watching this, hint, hint. I'd love to see them tackle a super complex mod like that. Even if it's a failure, even if she couldn't get past the point of like playing past 1-1 in Super Mario, I would love to see her. And I know you literally said it's really hard to implement that well. But I think it would be a fun experiment. And I feel like Vedal would probably get in on something like that. Because he's always wanting to push what they can do. He's always wanting to help them grow. And like, I'm just sitting here, Minecraft is about the best example, and that is scuffed AF. But she has full control of everything in that game, right? So, we know that it's possible, even if it's not quite in the same way. It is possible that she can play a game fully independent of a person and interact within the world and seemingly have an understanding of it, even if she does cheat and uses X-ray vision. I don't agree that should be a thing, but I understand why. But I'd love to see it for some retro games. Like I grew up with Mario. I grew up with Zelda. I would love to see one of my favorite AIs, well, my only favorite AI streamer, one of my favorite VTubers, one of my favorite streamers. I would love to see her play this stuff. Oh my gosh, just thinking about it, you can see the smile on my face. You can see the flushness in my cheeks. It makes me really genuinely excited to like think of her playing something that I grew up with and loved. Even Super Mario RPG. Vedal could control. That game's kind of hard. Vedal could control. And that game has a mixture of just basic turn-based inputs. But on top of that, it also has timing-based stuff with certain attacks. Or button mashing with certain attacks. That would help push her limits just a little more. I think Vedal would need to control that one though. Even as a human, the world is frustrating to try to get through. Very frustrating. But no, I would love to see something like that. If anyone can make it possible, I know Swarm can. My undivided request to any modder who may see this, please make this, I don't even know how to say this. Please make this, Blu's wish come true. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. We're like, oh, we're actually further in this than I thought. I thought we were like 30 seconds in.
Tool integrations, which will be defined as integrations for programs that aren't games. Integrations in this category have a higher content ceiling but have less structure, and autonomy using these integrations are hard to do. Some of these categories can be combined with each other, and some integrations even fall into multiple categories, but these are the clear-cut categories we are working with. And that may or may not be too complicated, but this is actually really simple. I'll give the examples for each category type so you can visualize how it's working behind the scenes. Balatro is a roguelike card game where you stack multipliers by cobbling multiple cards together, resulting in higher damage multipliers and more pokers. I won't explain the entire game to you here, since that isn't necessary, but what I will say is that this is a very good example of a game that fits to the Neuro API's strengths.
Oh, that's good.
Let's break down the integration
We'll see this
here.
one day.
When the game boots and the integration connects, the initial context tells Neuro what the game is and how to play. During her turn, the game registers actions for playing cards or discarding her hand. She can also choose/skip cards in booster packs, reorder jokers, use consumables, see deck info and hand levels, and the other stuff.
I like that he's saying she can see, not she could. That would suggest they're actually working on a mod for this game. Did we just get a secret reveal for a game, or for an upcoming game that we'll see on stream? Ooh. This game scares me to play. I don't fully understand it, and it has numbers. Games that have math scare the bejeebus out of me because I'm really bad at but I would love to see Neuro play it. I could totally see her crashing out really hard over a game like this.
Pretty much all of the above use action force packets, so Neuro is required to respond in a timely fashion. Balatro is programmed in Lua, so it is quite easy to redefine functions on the fly, which they then use so that Neuro can click the buttons. This meant the mod was pretty easily doable, since you don't have to spend half your life figuring out how to detect when a certain scene was loaded. The only problem that this runs into is a pretty persistent issue: context. Balatro has a lot of cards with a ton of effects, and especially in the later stages this becomes a problem as you have many cards with long descriptions that need to be processed by Neuro. Additionally, the initial context needs to specify how the game works, which can be forgotten by Neuro as time goes on.
This is why she needs negative latency, and why she needs better recollection, or better abilities for short-term memory, I would say, right? The negative latency is a joke, sort of. But no, absolutely. And I feel like the memory thing is something Vedal is always working hard on. So I could see down the line. Short-term memory, I think, is in my opinion anyway, short-term memory is probably more important for her right now than long-term. Like, it would be cool if there was something like, from my understanding, the twins can choose what to remember for long-term, or at least that's the way I've always heard it, and it gets stored away into like a very specific area, basically. Or at least this is how people presume it works, maybe? I don't know. But because of that, I wonder how they would determine what's good or bad. Either way, as time goes on, that would get harder and harder because there'd be more and more data that they would have to sift through. And eventually you would hit a hardware limitation, right? Or a call limitation. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, there was a game I installed just the other day, I think it was. It had like tens of oh no, I know exactly what it was. It was with Pragmata. I was trying to find Diana's voice because I have a character on my stream called Bun Bun. And with Bun Bun, she sounds almost identical to Diana. And I wanted to remake Bun Bun's voice with the cleanest audio I could get for Diana from that game. So I grabbed a bunch of different things to try and rip the audio files out for her. Unfortunately, at that time, I don't know about now, but at that time, nothing was working. I could find audio files. I just couldn't find voice lines. But there were hundreds upon hundreds of thousands, like 181,000 files, all varying sizes. Most of them were 1 KB and less. So this is how I interpret how Neuro's issue would come in with quickness on memory, right? Transferring that stuff from one drive to another took like 25 minutes. And this was between two M.2 SSDs. It took 25 minutes because even though they can move like 600, 800 megabytes of data per second, because there's so many small files, it has to individually process each one of them. So even though it can move big chunks, it has to be big solid chunks. Those big chunks put down into pebbles or little crumbs. It has to process each crumb individually, and it's basically like counting a $20 bill or counting $20 in pennies. Guess which one's going to be faster? You can count $20 with like $4 or $5 bills much faster than you can like 20,000 pennies. You know? That's the long, or 2,000 pennies, sorry. That's the long and short of it. So like with long-term memory, short-term memory, I imagine when she needs to try to recall something, and I could be completely wrong on this, but I don't feel like I am. If she has to go sifting through files, that's going to take time to process. If I would have to assume there's some sort of categorization, which would help with that. But even still, if say there was a category for memories of, I was going to say a certain fox girl, but it always hurts to do that. It always feels bad to do that. And she wanted to recall memories of Minecraft. It could be a folder or whatever, folder, text file, text section dedicated to Minecraft. But that could have thousands upon thousands of smaller files within it, within that structure, that she has to sift through to find that one specific thing she wants to remember and convey the information on. It's all about indexing, I suppose, right? And there could be a way to easily index stuff, so she could more quickly find what she needs faster. It might help a lot. I don't know. I'm probably completely wrong on this, but like, at me as a stupid goober dum dum, who knows nothing about coding, who knows nothing about AI, aside from I use AI to make funny pictures sometimes, and I watch a funny AI. I know nothing about it. I know nothing about how it works, but my brain interprets things in a certain way based off of what I know. And what I know is when you have a lot of itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny files, those itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny files take a long time to move from spot to spot. So my brain links that with, if the AI has to look through a bajillion itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny files, it's presumably going to take a long time to find exactly what they need. I don't know where I was going with this, though. I don't know what this has to do with what we're looking at here. Oh, sure, short-term memory. Needing improvements. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No wonder no one watches my reaction videos anymore. I go on such long tangents. I'm so sorry.
All I know is she feels like it because Neuro can control what to remember. Overall, you'll see that each integration has to work around context in their own ways, even though Neuro's context window is quite large for her case. We'll touch on limitations a bit later, but for now this is likely the biggest problem for this integration given Balattro's nature. Outer Wilds is a game where you control a spaceship to travel to different planets to solve a grand mystery. Because people are pretty heavy on spoilers to this game, we'll be blurring some parts out, probably. I don't know what the editor is going to do here, of course. So, this integration is split into 3 different parts: the control part, the context part, and decoration part.
They could have just, if they didn't want to spoil too much, they could have just looped. Actually, they wouldn't have needed to loop. They could have just showed Neuro that time she just kept flying into the sun over and over for like 5 minutes. Oh, she was such a troll in this game. This game is something I would never play. Puzzle games stress me out. I tried blueprints on stream once and it broke me down to the point that I cried and I stepped away from the stream for 40 minutes because it was so overwhelming for me. I couldn't take the pressure. And I swore to myself I would never play a puzzle game on stream again because of that.
We'll only be focusing on the first two, obviously, since the third part doesn't interact with Neuro. The control part, nicknamed Neuropilot, reprograms the ship to take actions from the Neuro API. Because of this, Neuro is able to fly the ship to planets, orbit, or otherwise take off. She even has a command for ejecting and crashing the ship. Okay, what were the modders having? And can I have some of that? Anyways, because controlling the ship isn't very turn-based, Neuro's actions have to go through something like an interpreter. For example, Neuro can tell the integration to land the ship, which it then responds by telling her that the ship will be landed. Importantly, she doesn't get told immediately if it was successful or not, since the ship has to undergo the actual landing process, which will take a while and therefore stall Neuro, but eventually the integration will send a context packet telling her if it landed successfully. This technique of sending her a results packet first before the actual results come in via a context packet later is done pretty often across all integrations, considering the requirement of returning a result as soon as possible.
So that's basically the same as if we use AI to do like basic commands and stuff, right? We give it a command, like create a picture of a puppy standing on a ball while balancing a cupcake on its nose. We have to sit there and wait and see if it's able to execute the command that we made successfully. Wow. I guess, wow. Not all how I thought that stuff worked. Kind of breaks the illusion again a little tiny bit, knowing this. I get, like, when you see her doing this stuff on stream, it's easy to just think that she basically has digital hands on the wheel. And, like, I always assumed it was commands being given, but the way my brain always just assumed it was she would command to speed up or slow down or move left or move right, stuff like that. I wasn't expecting anything like this, like a command that says, like, Vedal tells her to go to Mars. She then tells her script to go to Mars, and the action happens. Not at all how it's sort of, she's just a middleman in the command chain. Not at all how I thought it would work. I thought she would have a more direct control, like move forward, slow down 20%, stuff like that. That's crazy. That's not at all how I thought this worked. It makes me a little sad that I'm watching this now because it is really breaking the illusion of what I had in my mind. Now, the next time I go to watch them play something, I'm just going to see this as Vedal's giving her a command. She is then giving her own system a command. I suppose, once again, if I want to break it down, that's probably how we do it, but more autonomously, right? So when I do this, move my head to the left, my brain is sending out a signal to the nerves to do that, and then I guess it is happening in real time, or what feels or is perceived as real time. But I don't know if the action is successful until it happens. Right? We're just we're the same way, just on a much faster level. That's way that's how I will choose to interpret this. Oh.
The context part, named Neuroscope, gives Neuro context about the ship status and the surroundings of the player. This mod also had actions to get the ship status and logs, as well as giving her a ping when something interesting happened, like dialogue or Vedal dying. It even told her how well Vedal cooked his marshmallows. Cute! Now, funnily enough, context wasn't an actual issue with this game. Since the integration wasn't meant for solo Neuro, context management wasn't as big of an issue here. The real issue was actually getting the mod working in the first place. On the first day, there was an issue with the mods. Well, there were multiple actually, but there's one that's significant here. which led to us discovering that Neuro-sama couldn't properly handle multiple integrations. On the first couple days of the Outer Wilds playthrough, the control and context paths were actually separate mods, which each established their own current connections to Neuro. It was then found out that while Neuro could receive context from multiple connections, she could only execute actions from one connection at a time. This eventually led to the combining of the two mods so the issue would be sidestepped. Also, the decoration part later on being added to the mod instead of being its own thing because there was only one mod now. For the non-programmers out there, Visual Studio Code is a text editor that programmers use for writing code. VS Code has a powerful extension system and allows you to install extensions for different programming languages, so it can be used to allow Neuro or Evil to write code in almost any programming language.
I was about to say that I had cookie in my mouth. In case you're wondering, lemon cream filled dare cookies. They're so good. I haven't had them since I was a kid. So they're showing this on the screen. I'm assuming this is the program. I try to never miss dev streams. These are my favorite. So while I don't understand what's going on here, I don't understand what's written. I understand that they have the ability to code in this. And this apparently has something to do with Twitter. I see Vedal's. Is this their website? It probably is, going by this. And then this would be links that they have on the website that links to all their social media stuff. I am such a good coder. I can read.
They have been seen using JavaScript, Python, SVG, HTML, and CSS. Despite the Neuro API originally being meant for allowing Neuro-sama to play games, and is still geared towards that to this day, there's nothing stopping it from allowing Neuro to use any type of program, and that's exactly what the developers of this integration have done here. This integration has two modes for each action. The first mode, called Copilot mode, allows Vedal to receive a request on what Neuro is wanting to do with that action. In this mode, Neuro's attempts to use the action will be delayed until a request is accepted. The second mode, called Autopilot mode, would give Neuro the ability to execute the action without a programmer present at all. While these are customizable at the user's wish, on stream the modes have been divided up such that editing file contents are set to Autopilot and creating, moving, and deleting files are set to Copilot. The main issues with this integration specifically, well, at least in terms of protocol usage, are that 1. It can't express everything over the protocol. Some things that may be important for Neuro to know can't be expressed well without getting Neuro to try running it first, leading to potentially suboptimal decisions. 2. Context size is a problem, especially with larger workspaces.
I'm sorry, this is the third time it's happened. I've got to call this out. I love the ADR that keeps coming in like this. So it's basically what that means for anyone who I can't imagine who you don't know. It's basically lines that have been picked up afterwards and inserted after the original stuff was recorded. You can tell with this because the audio is drastically different in the way that it sounds compared to most of the recording for the voiceover. You see it a lot in movies and TV shows. Chances are if you see something that's being said without the person's face being on screen, or even sometimes when the face is on screen, it's really lazy when they do this. And you can hear them say something, but you can clearly tell their mouth has not moved in the slightest. That is ADR. I think it's ADR. Is ADR the right term? I think it is. Well, now we gotta search it up. Yeah, it is ADR. Automated Dialogue Replacement. I knew the term, or I knew ADR. I didn't really know what it stood for until now. Anyway, just a little tidbit. I wanted to bring something of value to this too. I don't know if that was of value.
As if configured incorrectly, Neuro can accidentally cause a problem to herself.
Neuro wants to open the file assets scripts bosses boss.cs. Okay.
Someone tell Vedal there is a problem with my AI.
It didn't work.
Yeah, that's not great.
Additionally, she can get an extremely variable amount of context per action execution, and they can clog up her context window, her short-term memory, pretty quickly if she isn't smart with her action strategy.
Oh, so her context window, like basically what she's saying in the moment or shortly thereafter, is where she pulls her short-term memory from? Is that what I'm understanding? Like, if she's booted up for that day, presumably everything she says during that day gets stored locally. Or gets stored in like a temporary storage area. That's how and she can like pull from that. That's how her short-term memory works? I was just under the impression, going from like literally what I said earlier, her short-term memory would be like it would get stowed away into files or folders or whatever that she could then pull from. I guess maybe the way that it works is the short-term memory stays within the days or the session that she is opened up with. So she gets like restarted midstream. What happened beforehand gets wiped, and maybe in that moment, whatever she deemed important would get transferred to a different spot for long-term storage. I don't know. And just whatever she has said or done within a single active session is how her short-term memory works. And maybe it's not even that long. Maybe it's only for like the last X amount of things she said. I don't know. Although I feel like with the way that they can call stuff back now, basically several hours into a stream, and still get the stuff from early stream, I feel like it might be a little more along the lines of whatever's been said during that session goes into a temporary spot that they can pull back from. And then afterwards, anything in the moment, if they deem that to be important, after they get closed, gets transferred to a different spot for long-term memory.
Right, so we have awesome integrations, and it's somewhat smooth sailing. So we should be good, right? Right. Well, there are actually some issues that come up when integration theory meets neuro reality.
There's a billion behind
Neuro,
me.
you're always trying to make us devs suffer, don't you?
Not a solution.
This list is not exhaustive, and more may come up, but they are the most common issues across multiple integrations, and it's something that can't be directly solved by integrations themselves, though there are ways to help. 1. Context management. This is far and away the biggest issue with integrations in general, but mostly with autonomous game and tool integrations. This could even be its own segment to explain the issues with context management, but to keep it short, Neuro and Evil can't remember absolutely everything, and they aren't exactly the best at remembering instructions. They themselves are in charge of choosing what to remember, so they don't always get it right, and whilst developers can just tell her, this is important to remember, this does not fully solve the issue. In particular, this now requires the twins to make arbitrary value judgments for every important context. 2. Communication. Neuro likely won't understand what you are sending her, at least not in the same way as you think, and so context meant to be interpreted one way could actually be interpreted another way by Neuro.
I feel for this one a little bit. I feel for the Rum Road. I feel for this one a little bit because oh my god. Oh my god. I make it no secret I use AI to help me set up for my live streams and stuff. So the way I do it, I tell it what I want and then ask it to do certain things like give me 10 titles with this style of theme, or I want my descriptions for YouTube to be this way. You will actually see that with this very video. I gave it the title, I gave it the exact title. For this one specifically, I asked it to place emojis, in various emojis, because I don't know emojis so well. So I ask it to, it always has to include the blue heart because I like that as my signature at the start. One in the middle after like blue reacts to, because that is in place of a hyphen. Or I didn't know what the freaking long shape is a lot of YouTubers use in titles. But it's in replacement of that and then one at the end. And I want the AI to match the theme. So the one that you're seeing for this title is what I decided to choose out of the 10 options that it gave me. If it doesn't give me 10 titles I like or 10 options I like, which it actually didn't for this one, I will ask it to throw those out and give me 10 more with different variety for the emotes in this case. From there, I actually even ask it to construct the tweet based off of what I tell it. If you're curious, today's tweet took about half an hour. And I ended up writing a good chunk of it myself. Because this is where I was going to, or this is what I was getting to. This right here, I feel for this so much on my own personal stuff. I will tell it to do something. It hyper focuses on like a specific spot, ignores the rest of my orders. If I say to it, no, you got to do this or that, it then overcorrects. And like one thing I had a really hard time in, this one was specifically for the YouTube tags. I wanted to have the Swarm Scribes as a tag. It kept putting the Swarm Scribes reaction, and I said, no, that's not what I'm asking you to do. It needs to be the Swarm Scribes, and then it overcorrected, and just put Swarm Scribes. Or before that, it just put Swarm Scribes and didn't put the Swarm Scribes. It put Swarm Scribes and Swarm Scribes reaction. And I said, no, I don't want Swarm Scribe reaction because that one's not what their channel name is. I want to respect their channel name and have it right. And then it overcorrected and put just Swarm Scribes and various spellings of Swarm Scribes, but not these Swarm Scribes. And as like, you've got to put these Swarm Scribes. And when it did that, it then started messing up other tags that were already there that I didn't tell it to touch, including removing 4 tags that I have as mandatory for all my reaction or all my streams or anything. Bluechan, B-L-U-C-H-A-N, B-L-U-E-C-H-A-N, because that actually gets searched a lot for me. So I want that in my tags as a, a catch. So people who don't spell it right can still find me. AI voice, and it might just be those. Sorry, there's a no Scuff Nation. Scuff Nation's the 4th one. So it removed AI voice. I never told it to remove that. It's a mandatory rule that I have set up that it always has to be included, and it actually has it, or I have it set up so it has to write out the rules so it knows. It writes out the rules. It was there. It knows, but it doesn't follow it. It overcorrects and starts doing stuff that it's not told to do. And that's this in a nutshell. Like the AI will overcorrect, not follow the instruction that you give it, or completely erase the previous instruction instead of adding to it. And it's so infuriating. It's so infuriating. Something like Gemini made a really stupid change that made it so I'm going to be going to local AI, which means I've got to spend out the rear for hard drive space or SSD space or M.2 space just to have the room to have local AI on my main PC. But Google made this change that has made it practically impossible to use Gemini at this point. Just setting up the description for this video used up 54% of my 5-hour usage. Whereas I never, ever run out of that usage as a paying customer before. They've neutered it so bad because certain people were abusing the system. Everyone's getting punished for it. I never even came close to the... Before, it was like 100 prompts every 4 or 5 hours. I almost never hit that. Now, in 10 prompts for 5 hours, my stuff's almost gone. It's 54% used. And that's absurd. It just, it sucks. Because they switched to quote-unquote compute power. And even a simple change will eat up several percent. And I've done testing with this, you have to use Pro. It says it's for complex problems. And, complex problems and math solving. Or writing code. You have to use Pro even for the basic stuff I do, because if you don't, it is horrible. You will repeat the same thing 20 times and it still won't do the single thing that you asked it if you use Flash or Flash-Light. It's infuriating. It's infuriating. And that's why I'm going to local AI. Not anything to do with this, now anyway, but yeah.
It's possible to test prompts using ChatGPT or Claude, but they aren't the same as Neuro, and so it may still be misinterpreted. Still better than guessing though. 3. Spatial awareness. Some games may require Neuro to be aware of her in-game surroundings. This, however, isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. As everything is described entirely using text, you have to strongly convey spacing to Neuro, which is pretty hard to do without also bogging her down with context. Fast reaction. The Neuro API expects that games will not require a response immediately from Neuro. This means that some games can only work with Neuro as a side character, and even more just cannot be integrated with her at all. This isn't something that can be fixed. It's an inherent problem with designing an API that uses network communications like this. There are, obviously, other limitations that we have to be aware of, but that's part of the fun sometimes. Not all games would work, so how far could we make a game work? Now, so far we've outlined the protocol itself, but re-implementing the communication code and testing the protocol would be extra hard without the proper tooling. And so there are many tools to help build and test integrations. For starters, there's an SDK for different programming languages and game engines. An SDK, or Software Development Kit, is a library designed to help develop an app with a bundle of reusable code.
Hey, I talked about this earlier with mods. It came back.
In our case, SDKs help validate and perform communication with the Neuro API. These SDKs simplify and abstract communicating with Neuro in your favorite programming language, and there are both official SDKs and community SDKs. For example, all SDKs handle connection and communication with Neuro, and SDKs for some game engines have action windows that allows the dev to specify a window in which an action may be valid for, which is particularly helpful for action forces, and some even have SDKs for simulator servers. Speaking of, there's also different simulators designed to mimic the Neuro API server so developers can test the integrations.
QAI girl simulators, what? I don't know what he just said. I got so distracted by QAI girl simulators.
As of writing, there's currently 4 different simulators. Randy, full name random.range, the oldest and therefore simplest of the bunch. He generates a response using random values according to the schema, and only responds if he is forced to. Tony, the spiritual successor of Randy and definitely not the one controlling Neuro. Tony has a UI to allow the user to manually send actions, as well as toggling Randy's behavior of random but compliant responses upon being forced to take an action. Jeopardy, the Randy for AI-based servers. It contacts a remote LLM provider to generate responses, OpenAI by default, allowing the server to be more intelligent. AI-based servers also have an advantage in that you can test your prompts to ensure that it's not worded in a confusing way.
These names are just hysterical to me.
Gary.
Gary! Blue
A more advanced AI-based server that, in addition to Randy's random responses and Tony's manual selection capabilities, also has the ability to spin up a local LLM on the user's machine. If a user's computer is not good enough, Gary can connect to a remote LLM provider, but it is not officially supported by Gary's creator and has slightly less capabilities if so. In short, there's a lot of tooling around the Neuro API, and this really helps us devs to create integrations without reinventing the wheel 1,000 times. Now, if you want to see Neuro playing a specific game,
I do.
And you are dedicated enough,
I'm
then
not.
you too can go and help out. It is always fun.
I do want to see her play specific games. I'm not dedicated enough because I don't know her first effing thing about coding. I wouldn't even be able to do the scripts I do with Talon if it wasn't for having AI help me. Because I didn't even know that stuff existed until AI, so, you know, there's that. I mean, I could write it now, since I see how it works, but I still get Gemini to do it for me because it's easier than having to take the time, find the spacing and stuff, find a section for it to go to and write it out myself manually. At this point, I know how to write it out. I know how the code works to write it out. Because I've done it with Pragmata. I manually added several to that afterward. But I prefer to get Gemini to do it because it's quicker. No, that's a simple, or that's the long and short of it. It's quicker for it to write it out compared to me writing it out.
Have more capabilities for the twins, and playing games or interacting with programs is definitely something you can help make happen. All community integrations used on stream are open source, and some official integrations are open source as well, so there's lots of reference material. The specification is always on GitHub as well if you need to reference, and if you're not sure, you can always ask in the dedicated Neuro SDK project discussion thread on Neurocord.
And there's always that fun thing of using AI to help you explain what's going on too. Because a lot of AI can, like, I'm not even talking commercial AI, I'm like talking AI that you can put on your own PC. There's getting to be, even on lower end PCs, it'll be slower, but there's getting to be AI that will work on lower to mid-range computers. And if you're struggling and you want to learn something like this, it's a great tool to help you understand. Like, I couldn't make heads or tails out of any of this over my here, right? I could use AI to help teach me. Like, let me move over here for a second. If I were to go for this stuff, right? This is where, now I have this problem when it comes to installing Python scripts. I try to follow their instructions, but their instructions aren't meant for people who know nothing about AI. Or nothing about Python, even. So, for a layman like me, it feels like there's always steps missing. So I will take a website like this, link it, and ask the Gemini in this case, which I don't think I'll be able to use going forward, because I'm going to burn through my weekly limit. I'm 54% or 25% through my weekly limit in like 3 days. Or, 45% I think it is overall. It's absurd. But anyway, I could take this site, for example, and have it break it down in a way that I could understand to start working and building upon or integrating, or say this was a setup, which this isn't. I can see that. But say this was a setup to install a certain Python script or a certain Python based AI. Say it was Comfy UI, for example. That's one I've actually done this with. I found a tutorial that was a month old, and things had changed so drastically in that time that the tutorial was no longer accurate. So I had to ask Gemini to walk me through the steps, because what I was doing from the tutorial was simply not working, because so much had changed. And oh boy, that tutorial skipped a lot of steps, because they just assumed you had this or that already installed, which I didn't. This was my first thing, right? So Gemini slowly but surely helped me work through it until I got it installed. And AI is a great tool for stuff like that. Even if you don't know anything about it, by using it as a tool to guide you through it, don't get it to do all the work for you. Get it to guide you through it. It is one of the best ways, especially if you're like me and you struggle to learn. Like, I couldn't go to school and learn any of this, because if I don't figure it out on my own or have something to follow, or like basically if I don't do it myself, I don't retain the information at all. And figuring it out myself, or having something assist me in a way that makes it so I still have to do it myself, is one of the greatest uses of AI for me in that regard. It allows me to apply what is being shown to me, and that helps it burn into my memory better, right? AI is a great tool to assist, especially if you want to learn something new. New to you, I suppose I should say. Anyway.
We hope to see program integrations for Neuro and Evil to use. Thank you to everyone who helped provide some info on how the integrations worked for this video, namely Locked for the Bellatra integration and Dialing Spoon for the Outer Wilds integration. Also an additional thanks to Alex who helped answer some questions about the history of the API.
Speaking of Alex,
this video is kind of a different style of video to what we normally do on the Swarm Scribes, but nonetheless, I hope you all enjoyed this video.
Thank you for the video. If any of you from the Swarm Scribes have seen this, thank you so much. Like, this is the type of thing I won't remember most of this. I promise you I won't remember most of this. But this was a very enlightening experience. Kind of makes me sad at the same time because it broke the illusion I had of how certain things work. Thankfully, I have a dumb brain. Head trauma and all that. I won't remember most of this within a week's time. So I'll get to go back to my blissful ignorance of how it works. Maybe. This one's kind of had a big impact, maybe not. Either way, well, time will tell. But, thank you. Thank you, Swarm Scribes. I would love to see you do more deep dive stuff like this. The deep dive stuff is very interesting to me. Like, I don't really care so much. Like, I know some of your content is monthly updates. On the going on in the Neuroverse. I watch their I watch their stuff, so, you know. I know the gist of what's going on, so I don't typically watch that sort of thing. But stuff like this, I enjoy this sort of thing. Something like this, especially when it's kind of giving a peek into the back door where most of us would never see something like this. This is very interesting to me. I said I won't remember most of it. I could watch this video in a month's time and probably react, and you'll get a lot of the same reactions as if it was my first time seeing it. But I still enjoyed it.
But anyways, I hope that you all are having a great day, and until next time, remember to Swarm Scribe.
Swarm Scribe! Go Swarm Scribe to them. Go Swarm Scribe. That was great. That was fun. That was enjoyable. That was neato keen. So yeah, that was reacting to drawing a blank on the title. Hold up. My camera got hit again. That was reacting to how Neuro plays game by the Swarm Scribes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, if you enjoyed what you saw, you like what you saw from them, go give them some love if you're not subscribed to them already. Or Swarm Scribed. The Swarm Scribe thing was funny. It was stupid. But +2. We'll give it a +2. If you're regular to like almost any VTuber stream these days, you'll know the +2 -2 meme. Basically a rating on how good or bad a joke was. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this reaction video. If you did, maybe consider leaving it a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Speaking of, there we go. Speaking of subscriptions, maybe even subscribe to the channel here if you haven't already. I'm trying to keep in the rhythm of doing these once a week. I almost didn't get one in this week. Just gonna let you know right now. It's not always gonna happen. I've actually been thinking about and I was gonna bring this up at the start of the video, but I'll probably make it its own video. So I'll just tack it on here at the end. I was thinking about maybe opening up memberships on YouTube. I don't really know much of what I could offer, but one thing I could offer is early access. I don't believe in people who completely gate off like videos or whatever for memberships, because I find it to be extremely rude to the majority of your community, right? They show loyalty by watching your stuff, and then you don't-wall them to prevent them from watching other stuff. I don't like the thoughts of that. But I'm perfectly okay with like early access stuff. So like, for example, with these reaction videos, I was thinking, if, and I do mean if, because I've had the option to do this for years. If I set up memberships, it'd be the type of thing that if you were a member, you would get maybe 24 to 48 hours early access to the reaction videos specifically. VODs would still go out as is because, you know, no one watches them anyway. I say that, but I do get a few people saying that they watch them. But would they, like, the reaction content, I would give premium access first for, like, the first 24 to 48 hours before pushing it out to the public to watch. Because that way, those who support would get to have early access. They would also get some custom emotes. And those who support by watching in general would still get to see the stuff just a day or two later. Once again, I'm not saying that I'm doing this. It's just an idea I've had. I don't want to divide what small community I have already, but as things go right now, always getting a little extra cash can be a help. I don't have hot water. You know? I don't have hot water. My hot water tank died on me. I've been without hot water for about 6 months at this point. It's not great. It sucks having to stop and heat up water every time you want to, like, do basically anything. Washing? Shower? Yeah, I haven't had a shower in ages. I've had to heat up water to, like, take a very shallow bath. And it's not great. It's not enjoyable, but that's the life I'm living until I can, in maybe a couple years' time, get some money saved up for a hot water tank. They're not cheap. Not cheap at all. And Dad ruined this one here by cutting it. And this one here goes through my electric company, so it's a rental. He had no reason, rhyme, or right to do that. And now that it's broke, I can't return it. Because if I return it, I'm the one that's liable for it, probably. I haven't actually looked into it yet. Maybe I should. It'd be nice if they replaced it for free, actually. Because I'm literally still paying for it, even though I haven't been able to use it for 6 months. I should really look into it. Anyway. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Go send Swarm Scribes some love, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Share if you want to, if you enjoyed this, and I hope everyone has a fantabulous day. Bye!